When I first thought about geography, I honestly just pictured like maps, countries, and memorizing capitals. But after reading this article by Bidwell and Nunez, I realized that geography is much more about like how we think rather than what we memorize. The authors explain that geographical thinking helps students better understand the world by analyzing spatial patterns, relationships, and interactions between humans and the environment. This way of thinking strengthens critical and analytical skills that can be applied to real-world issues. First, geographical thinking can be defined as like the ability to analyze the world by looking at location, spatial patterns, and connections between places and people. One major component of geographical thinking is spatial thinking, which focuses on where things are located and why things happen in those specific places. Another key component is scale, which can help us understand like how local issues can connect to regional, national, or maybe even global patterns. Bidwell and Nunez emphasize that geographical thinking allows students to ask those deeper questions like why would this happen here and how would this look different in another location instead of just accepting information. Students learn to evaluate causes, consequences, and relationships using geography as kind of like a framework. The second concept discussed in the rubric is once again spatial relationships. Spatial relationships refer to how places, people, and objects are connected to one another across space. This can include distance, proximity, direction, and patterns. Spatial relationships help explain why certain outcomes occur in specific locations. For example, one spatial relationship is how hospitals are often built like near major highways, so emergency vehicles can reach them quickly. Spatial relationships such as this one directly affect people's quality of life. Bidwell and Nunez highlight that understanding spatial relationships allows students to move past surface level observations and instead rather analyze how geography shapes opportunities and challenges. The third concept is environmental interactions, which describe the relationship between humans and the natural environment. Environmental interactions include how humans depend on the environment, adapt to it, and then also sometimes modify it. One example of this is how cities build flood barriers or drainage systems in areas that are prone to really heavy rainfall. This shows humans adapting to environmental conditions. Another example could be deforestation, which is where humans modify the environment for agriculture development, which can then lead to negative consequences such as habitat loss or maybe even climate impacts. According to Bidwell and Nunez, again, understanding environmental interactions can help students to recognize that human decisions always have environmental effects, whether they realize it or not. Overall, these authors argue that geographical thinking strengthens students' critical and analytical skills because it teaches them to examine patterns, relationships, and interactions rather than just memorizing the facts. By understanding spatial relationships and environmental interactions, students learn to think more deeply about real-world problems such as public health, climate change, and maybe even urban planning. Geography becomes a tool for problem solving and informed decision making, and it's not just a school subject. In conclusion, geographical thinking helps students better understand how the world works by connecting place, space, and environment. Defining geographic thinking, spatial relationships, and environmental interactions allows students to analyze issues from multiple perspectives and apply their knowledge beyond just the classroom. This article can show us that geography plays an important role in developing critical thinkers who can understand and respond to complex global and local challenges.